Okay, and we are straight in at round 1, ladies and gents, playing Shining Sarcophagus. Obviously this is probably going to be the last time that I play this deck for now, because I potentially want to kind of like just branch out into another deck. I've got Ritual Beasts, which I'm semi trying to learn, and I've got Snake Eye Fire King without bonfires, but with the rest of the stuff that I might actually just give a little bit of a spin before it gets absolutely demolished on the ban list. But anyway, back to the game at hand, playing against Pearly in round 1, and it was one hell of a grind. Managed to find myself in some weird game state where we had like a Noir on field, as well as taking control of, I think it took one of my Fenrirs with triple tax. I had a flipped up There Can Be Only One that got outed by my own Fenrir, believe it or not, but kind of put him in a bit of a situation where he decided to go into Zeus. Now what I will say is, if it had stayed with the a million material X Pearly Noir, it probably would have won the game out, because when I think about it, in hindsight, I don't really have an out to a massive towers, to be honest. Not in Shining Sarcophagus. I potentially would need to put in like a Kaiju or something like that, because I just can't actually get rid of it, or like Herald of the Abyss for something else, something along those lines, which forces him to kind of like get rid of it. But yeah, he would have won the game, but he went into Zeus. I had Dragoon on the field. Changed Dragoon to his Zeus activation. Obviously he proceeded to Zeus again, which ended up wiping both of our fields, and then on the crackback I was managed to hit a Fenrir as well as a gadget trio, so I was just basically off to the races, and he had very little resources in hand because of the Zeus activation, because it wipes his own field as well, obviously. So yeah, managed to do that, and then going into game 2 of round 1, he actually managed to brick, especially after he drew off Prosperity. I don't think he hit the best Prosperity, but what he chose to take instead of actually like just going for like a bit of a safer play just meant that he couldn't actually play, so he ended up scooping game 2, and that was the end of round 1, ladies and gents. Managed to take it 2-0 in what was definitely a grind. Okay, ladies and gents, we are here. Welcome back to another video. You know who it is by now. Jimothy. So, ladies and gents, I'm at locals. Actually played round 1 against Pearly. Managed to take it in 2 games. Going second, might I add, playing none other than Shining Sarcophagus. Obviously, it's not the most strongest deck, but Shifter is a card. Even though I didn't see, but Shifter is definitely a card which kind of carries the deck in some of the unfavorable matchups. But you know what? It's Yu-Gi-Oh! The card's still legal. It is what it is. Everybody is thirsting for a ban list, ladies and gents. Like, speaking to people at locals right now, they're just like, oh, just the format's just a bit dry. We need some change. Blah 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 blah. Me, I look at it as an opportunity to just play something completely rogue, because we know what the best deck is. We know that my deck's not necessarily going to win, especially as it's rogue. But yeah, that's just my outlook on the game as it stands. But anyway, I'll keep you guys updated. It's been a while since I've done a locals vlog, and I will just film some of the scenes here. There we go, ladies and gents. Get my head out. As you can see, pretty packed. I think there's like 20 or so players here. So yeah, on to round 2, ladies and gents. Let's get it going. Peace. So coming into round 2, game number 1, I'm playing against White Woods Toy Box Synchro mashup, and I'll be honest, the deck has got a lot of gas. The Toy Box engine is absolutely busted. Like, I've got this deck myself, somewhat of it anyway. I'm missing one Estella and one Owlzette, but it's in a playable condition. Obviously you need the 3 for max consistency, but the Toy Box stuff is just out of this world. Like, it just offers so many options, especially with the rank 4 bodies and the recursion that it provides, as well as the actual Toy Box, the continuous spell being a bit of an interruption during a battle phase that not many people kind of like read into, so it's worth keeping a note of that, ladies and gents. But to say the least, I just got cooked. It wasn't even a contest. I kind of bricked game 1, as well as my opponent just having a very strong hand, and I just really couldn't do much. I think I ended on like Fenrir and probably one of the Silent Magician monsters, and it just literally didn't do anything. And that's a little bit frustrating thing about this deck. If you don't see a way to Shining Sarcophagus, your deck just doesn't function, unless you've got like multiple other engines that work independently alongside the Shining Sarcophagus stuff. So I've seen Fenrir, I think I've seen one monster and just a whole load of high level monsters in hand, not being able to do much. So I tried to stall out as long as I could and try and stay in the game, but I just lost basically. He put a move my monsters, which was a little bit of a problem problem. Going into game 2 of round 2, again, like not really the best of hands. I said a few things, but I ended on a Dragoon, which probably wasn't the best idea, especially with the way that the deck could just push through multiple interruptions depending on the hand it's got. And I managed to book a Moonma Dragoon, and that was my last line of defense really. Obviously Dragoon's untargetable, it was a little bit of a problem for him, but ultimately my Dragoon got booked and he was just going to attack over all my monsters, so ended up scooping and got absolutely clapped that round. So yeah, took an L in that one. So round 3, I was up against my buddy Stee. Shout out to you, Stee. Absolutely cooked me playing Kashtira. Game 1, we got into a weird little bit of a grind game, and he managed to obviously just resolve Birth, and then it's just after Birth gets resolved, it's so much of an uphill battle trying to get back into the game. Going into game 2 of round 3, I managed to win that one. He actually bricked on too much hand traps. He didn't have enough engine to be able to kind of like facilitate any kind of board, and just meant that I was able to pop off on the clapback. He did Lava Golem a couple of my monsters, which was a little bit of a heartbreaker. It's horrible to see just your cards just get tributed and pushed into the graveyard because of like Lava Golem or like Kaijus or something like that. But yeah, he managed to do that. And then game 3, just set up a fat board. I think he had like Shangri-Era, 2 Fenriers, as well as a Ogre, as well as a Judgment and a Cosmic Cyclone. So like he was literally set up. I did manage to rip the Harpy's Feather Duster off the part of Extravagance. However, he had the Judgment ready for the Harpy's Feather Duster, and that effectively what won him the game basically, because when I did activate Shining Sarcophagus effect to search, Cosmic Cycloned it, and that was just all she wrote, and I couldn't actually push through the board with regards to doing anything else. I had too many high level monsters in hand. And it was a little bit unfortunate to see, because it's always good to see the new Dark Magician, but when you've seen it alongside like the Gandora and other high level monsters, it just feels bad. You just like, it's just a whole load of bricks, and that was kind of like a couple of the worst hands that I've drawn playing this deck over these last 2 rounds. It was weren't nice to see, but anyway, managed to lose that round 2-1. Got absolutely beat up by Kashtira. Who knew, hey? So yeah, on to the next one. So going into the 4th and final round, ladies and gents, and me being me, just ended up talking in between rounds and forgot to film like my in between rounds synopsis of the round that I just previously passed, which was a little bit annoying when I thought about it, because I was just literally just around locals, just chatting, just being me basically. So jumped straight into round 4, and round 4, ladies and gents, I was against a 60 card paleo deck, and I was like, oh my days. When I see my opponent set 4 or 5 cards, I was like, this is gonna be a long one. But I did see Shifter this game, and I managed to resolve Gandora, and obviously because my deck was a bit of a rogue deck, or is a rogue deck, my opponent wasn't familiar with the cards, and he didn't understand why Gandora banished, and I just obviously let him read the card text, and he was like, oh, that actually cripples me. So I managed to wipe all of his back row with Gandora's effect, and he didn't have much of a response in the way of negation, so that ended up banishing a lot of his resources, which was unfortunate for him because he couldn't recover after that. And I had Dragoon on field as well, so I was just going to negate the most important card. Like, he was stalling me out with like Wabaku and threatening Roar, and it was crazy. Going into game 2 of the final round, ladies and gents, and it was such a grind. He managed to set up going first. I think he paid his life points down to like 2,000 or 1,000 life points basically, because of transaction rollback. So he was getting transaction rollback in the graveyard, and then he was putting it back into the graveyard after it banished using its own effect, to then use it again via Olenoids. I think it's the Paleozoic track Olenoids, the one that returns a trap card from banished. And oh my days, it was so frustrating. I was so close to game like a number of times, and then I'd get hit with Daruma Karma Cannon, get hit with a transaction rollback which copied an effect that just wouldn't let me tack or do damage, for example. And it got to a point where I managed to get to a point where I'd beaten over a lot of his monsters. Because the paleo monsters are unaffected by monster effects, it made it really difficult to interact with them. So I just had to get loads of beat sticks on field basically and just kind of like beat over his monsters, and it proved to be very, very difficult, not gonna lie, ladies and gents. But I managed to take it in the end. I think I dwindled him out of resources, and I was actually out of resources myself. But I might even put this up on the channel as its own live duel, just because of the amount of grinding that was involved. It was a really, really good match as well, and it's one of the newer players that's turned up to locals, which was interesting to see, because we're starting to have a few new players that are arriving at locals, which is always good, because I'm hearing a lot of talk about locals is dying and all that kind of stuff. So it was good to play against the new players and someone who's recently just jumped into local scene basically. But yeah, managed to do that, going X2 overall, ladies and gents. Not the best showing, I've done better previously, but it is what it is. Okay, ladies and gents, we are back at home after locals. Got myself changed because I was sweating down there. But anyway, I think that's the last time I'm going to play Shining Sarcophagus for the time being, unless some new support arrives, which I don't think is going to happen in the near future, to be honest. The deck is solid. It's definitely a rogue pick, something that you will enjoy if you do take it to locals. However, I feel like it's time to move on to something else, and I'm at a little bit of a conundrum as to what to play going forward into the next format basically, because I'm kind of like stuck in between decks. Like Vanquish Soul is decent, but compared to some of the other decks in the meta, it just can't stand up. It finds it really difficult. I feel like it's shy of a little bit more support, which I feel like it's long time overdue in getting, but that's a story for another video. But going X2 anyway with Shining Sarc, definitely a different way I could potentially build the deck. I could incorporate a few more Kashtira monsters, potentially like Kashtira Unicorn along with a Birth, to be able to kind of like have a little bit more of a presence going first, just because your first 10 boards aren't as intimidating as you would hope them to be. If you do resolve ties that bind, that definitely does help to a certain degree, but it doesn't really stand up to what some of the decks can do going about in this day and age basically. So all in all, a decent locals. Yeah, we will be back there next week, probably playing a different deck. Who knows, might even play Fire King Snake Eye. We'll see, ladies and gents. Just give it a little bit of a twirl just before it gets absolutely slaughtered on the ban list, but we'll see anyway. But anyway, if you did like this content, you know what to do by now, ladies and gents. As we arrive at the end of another video, hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.